For every great republic, there are inevitably a few generations when political and social matters arise that hold the power to negatively affect all lives for generations to come. Make no mistake, regardless of what side of the political spectrum you identify with, this time has come.
Hey everybody, welcome back. We're back with episode number 2, and we're happy to have your attention today. We're going to call this episode Exploiting Rifts to Multiply Power, Castro and the Cuban Revolution. And I want you to know that everything you learn today, you need to compare to what's happening in the United States. So, the revolution in Cuba began in 1953. The Cuban Revolution was an armed, violent revolt led by Fidel Castro and his revolutionary thugs, along with the movement's cast of allies. So the thugs weren't alone. And it was against the military dictatorship of Cuban President Batista. It took until 1959, over 6 years, for Castro to defeat the dictator Batista.
United States people is very good people.
How do you like the American press?
What?
American press.
Yes, you the reporters are wonderful. You the writers are wonderful, but you are not the owners. The newspaper belongs to the monopoly.
What impact did this revolution and the following 70 plus years of totalitarian communist governance have on the people of Cuba? Well, let's have a look at the facts so that we can answer this question today. Okay, these statistics are from Brookings.edu. The current population of Cuba is 11,329,000 and change. Compare that to the US, which has a population of roughly 330 million. Less than 5% of Cubans have access to the internet. Take-home salary for most Cubans is around $20 a month. The GDP of Cuba in 2018 was $100 billion. That's 214 times smaller than the US GDP.
I remember vividly all the promises that a guy named Castro gave and how 99% of the people swallowed the pill. It took many years later, after I read somebody named Saul Alinsky, that I realized that all those people were nothing but useful idiots. I remember Castro, while in the mountains, being interviewed and asked if he was a communist. He went crazy. I dare you, he says. Católico, Apostólico y Romano. I'm a Roman Catholic. Educated by the Jesuits, he was. I remember all the promises that we hear today about free education and free health care and free land. And my God, no freedom. But he never said that until after he was in power, got rid of all the police, got rid of all the military, been there for the last 60 years and counting. And he destroyed each and every one who helped him.
Let me be specific. Your newspapers, radio, television, motion pictures are under state control. No dissent or opposition is allowed in the public media.
Bárbaro.
Yes.
Nosotros no tenemos las mismas concepciones.
We do not have your same conceptions.
Nosotros no tenemos el concepto de libertad de
Our
prensa.
concept of freedom of the press is not yours.
Desde luego, se lo digo con toda.
And I say this very
No
honestly.
tengo que ocultar absolutamente
I
nada.
have nothing to hide.
Si nos pregunta que aquí puede aparecer un periódico
If you
contra el
ask us
socialismo,
if a paper could appear here against socialism, I could say honestly, no, it
no
cannot
lo
appear.
permitirá ni el partido,
It would not be allowed by
ni
the
el
party,
gobierno,
the government,
ni el
nor
pueblo.
the people.
En ese sentido,
Okay.
no poseemos
In that sense,
la libertad
we do
de
not
prensa.
have
poseen
the
ustedes.
freedom of the press that you possess in the U.S.
When Fidel Castro took over Cuba, 98% of his followers were non-communists. Those who supported him in defeating the anti-communist Batista never would have done so had they known that Castro was a communist. What happened? How did he gain such overwhelming temporary support? Simply put, he took the most important page out of the 20th century communist revolutionary playbook. The plan was laid out by Vladimir Lenin, who led the Bolshevik Revolution in overthrowing the Russian government. Lenin's strategy was documented by Josef Stalin, his successor, in the book Stalin on China. Lenin's plan explains how the Bolsheviks leveraged the revolution of a small group of Marxists by multiplying their power, their strength, enthusiasm, by exploiting the difference between non-communist groups, tearing potential allies against Marxism apart, and weakening them so that by the time they realized that they are in the throes of communism, it's already too late. In America today, the communists are exploiting the difference between racial groups and religious groups. How? By using the leftist media propaganda machine. Let's have a look at exactly what was said by Stalin on China. He said the most powerful enemy can be conquered only by exerting the utmost effort, and by necessarily, thoroughly, carefully, attentively, and skillfully taking advantage of every, even the smallest rift among enemies, of every antagonism, and also by taking advantage of every, even smallest opportunity of gaining a mass ally, even though this ally be temporary, vacillating, unstable, unreliable, and conditional. Those who do not understand this do not understand even a particle of Marxism or of scientific modern socialism. Folks, the lesson is that the communists in America have crafted the perfect revolutionary rhetoric to gain temporary allies. An example of this, the way that they divide us, think of the term Black Lives Matter. No matter what side you're on, you cannot be fully correct. Because when rhetoric like this is used, of course Black Lives Matter. And of course all lives matter. There can be no winner in this debate, only heated tensions. That's the essence of a communist revolution. The only purpose of this statement is to create conflict between groups, to create tension between non-communist citizens. The reason communists do this is to weaken their enemies and gain an unstable ally, who they later will reject as those useful idiots. The end game of the violence, the rioting, and the looting is not greater freedom. The end game is to strip away the constitutional right of American citizens, to usher in global communism. This is the final assault of all the communist movements that have failed monumentally time and again for over a century. The loss of life and the suffering in these failed communist regimes is the most devastating part of the human history. Despite this, communism has finally infiltrated America's institutions to such a degree that it is now time for it to make its final stand. We're here to make the reality clear to you. You're confused. You've been lied to. You are angry. You blame the people who you work with, live next door to, because you don't understand the real problem. This is the essence of a communist revolution. It's already penetrated more deeply than you'll ever understand. And your only hope now is to defend your communities, your personal property, your lives, and the lives of your loved ones from communism. To stand up to it and call it what it is by name. This is the moment when the home of the brave rise to defend the land of the free.